Harper Audio presents Overbite by Meg Cabot. Performed by Emily Bauer. Part 1. Friday, September 17th. Chapter 1. Meena Harper knew things. Things no one else knew. Things no one could know. One of those things was that the man sitting in the car beside her was going to die. There were also many things Meena Harper did not know. One of those was how she was going to break the news of this man's impending death to him. "Meena," he said, gazing at her profile. "You have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's funny that you called. I was just thinking of you." "It's great to see you too," she said. This was a lie. It wasn't great seeing him. How was she going to tell him? Especially when he looked so terrible. He smelled terrible. Or maybe it was the inside of his car. She couldn't figure out what the smell was. "I was thinking of you too," she lied some more. "Thanks for meeting me." She looked around the dark, narrow street. She felt guilty for telling him all these lies, including that this was the street where she lived, then saying he couldn't come up because her roommate's parents were visiting. "Are you sure you don't want to get a cup of coffee?" she asked. "There's a place right around the corner. It would be much nicer than sitting in your car," especially considering the smell, and what she had to tell him. "I'm sure," he said, smiling. "You have no idea how much I've missed you." This was news to Meena. She hadn't heard from him in more than a year. Their split had been relatively amicable, though at the time, she'd been convinced that her heart was broken. She was a dialogue writer who'd been trying to make a living scratching out scripts for a now-canceled soap opera. He was a dentist, specializing in veneers who'd wanted to move out to the suburbs and start a family. Naturally, things hadn't worked out. "I thought you and Brianna were really happy," she said. "What with the new practice and the baby and all." Which made it even worse. How was she going to break the news about his impending death when he had so much to live for? He let out a bitter laugh. "Brianna," he said. "She means nothing to me." "Of course she does," Meena said, surprised. "What are you talking about?" Now Meena was really worried about him. David had dumped her for Brianna. Brianna meant the world to him. It had to be a brain tumor. That's what had almost killed him the first time. But she'd sensed it and warned him, and the doctors had been able to find it in time to save his life. Too bad the fact that she'd known about it had freaked him out so much that he'd run from her, straight into the arms of his radiology nurse. But it was all right. Meena had built a new life for herself now. Sure, that life had been destroyed by Lucien Antonescu, the man who taught her what a broken heart really felt like. But she managed never to think about him anymore. Almost never. It was only that, lately, she'd been having such horrible dreams about David. In them, he was dead. It wasn't that she could see his corpse. In the dream, she could see David's future. And he didn't have one. Just darkness. When she'd woken from the dream for a third morning in a row, breathless from feeling as if the darkness was closing in on her, she knew she had no choice but to call him. But she also knew she couldn't deliver news like this over the phone. They had to meet in person. David had been surprisingly eager, offering to stop by on his way back to New Jersey after lunch and...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?